Okay, so in the last video we defined price elasticity of demand, and we'll do that again now, which is measures the percentage change in quantity demanded following a 1% change in price. And we correctly identified the formula for calculating PED, calculating this percentage change in price that occurs, percentage change in quantity demanded that occurs following a 1% change in price. In the previous video, we were given questions that gave us the percentage changes, and you're not always going to get that in the exam. So you may be asked to calculate, you may be given a demand curve and asked to calculate from the demand curve what's the PED when price changes from €4 or $4 to $5 or something like that. And then what you'll have to do is you'll have to find the quantity demanded at $4 and the quantity demanded at $5 and calculate the percentage changes in each and divide one by the other. The way you would do that, this is the PED formula, the way you would calculate PED in that case is by using this formula. Now, we said here that it's the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. That's what we said in the last video. Okay, well, how do you calculate the percentage change in quantity demanded? Well, it was the second quantity, the quantity that existed at the new price, minus the quantity that existed at the old price, divided by the quantity that existed at the old price. And then you multiply that by 100. You get an answer and you put that here. The percentage change in price is calculated by P2, which is the new price, the second price, minus P1, which was the old price, all divided by P1, which again is the old price, and we multiply that by 100. You get an answer, and you put that answer here. You divide this answer by that answer, and you have the PED. Now, please be able to do this. Take a photo of this on your phone. Remember this, look at this and see if you can do this, okay? However, I am going to give you a different formula that I think you should use, just because I think it's slightly easier. And the thing with these questions, I am sure you are of the intelligence, more than enough intelligence, to correctly find the answer to any question that you were given in IB economics, particularly the mathematics. Whether your confidence for mathematics is low or high, I promise you have the intelligence. The issue that you may make, and the issue that I still make, and I've been teaching this for 12 years, is silly mistakes, as we say in Ireland, okay? Or if you want to be more fanciful, a clerical error. Sometimes you'll see something, it'll be something simple like 3 minus 1, and you'll write down 4 because you weren't thinking. Okay, these kind of errors you want to reduce. So therefore, in an effort to reduce these errors, what I have done is simplified down that formula to what you see now in front of you. Okay, and I believe using this formula and a strategy that I'm going to give you in a second, I believe the chances of making silly mistakes, the chances of making mistakes that are not to do with intelligence but are to do with concentration, and remember you will be tired in the exam, reduce. All right, and the reason I think I'm stressing this the most is because I'm king of these silly mistakes. I can easily, there may even be one in this presentation. I'll pretend that it was for illustrative purposes, but it wasn't. Okay, so what I'm saying now is use this formula, be able to use the other one in case they explicitly ask for it, because you may be asked to find the percentage changes in quantity demand and the percentage change in price. You know how to do that from the previous formula. And now what I'm saying is if you're asked to find the PED, do that. Use this formula here. Okay, so the first thing that I would say is this is an example that I'm going to give you. The strategy that I was suggesting is P1, write down P1, P2, Q1, Q2, and then equal sign, equal sign, equal sign, equal sign. And what you then should do is fill in the numbers as you go. So, okay, a consumer buys 150 Big Macs. That's Q1, all right? So you should write Q1 equals 150 at a price of 1. P1 equals 1. Now their price is 2, well P2 equals 2 and he only buys 75, so Q2 equals 75. That's what I think you should do. Potentially read the question first and then fill in the numbers. And then reread it, fill in the numbers. That's what I think would reduce your chances of making an error not to do with your intelligence, which I'm sure is fantastic. Okay, so let's put these numbers into the formula. So it's Q2 minus Q1. Well, Q2 is 75. That's the quantity that is bought at the new price, which is 2. So 75 and minus Q1, which is 150, and we divide that by Q1. We leave that there. Don't mess with anything there. Just write it out. Always do this, guys. Even, like, I can still make errors even when I do this, okay? So the next one is multiplied by P1, which is €1, over P2 minus P1, which is over 2 minus 1. You don't do anything there. You write an equal sign. Then all you do is try and simplify each fraction on its own. So 75 minus 150 is minus 75 over 150 multiplied by, okay, the top line is 1, granted, over 2 minus 1, which is 1. Now, how do you multiply fractions? Okay, you multiply fractions when it's top by top and bottom by bottom. So it's minus 75 by 1 multiplied by 150 over 1. So minus 75 by 1 is equal to minus 75 divided by 150 by 1, which is 150. And what that equals to is minus 0.5. I believe I am correct in that. If I have made a mistake, please leave a comment down below and forgive me. Maybe forgive me first and then leave a comment. Okay, the next thing I'm going to ask you guys to do now is, and for each of these questions, before you start, in the left-hand side, right, P1, P2, Q1, Q2, equal sign, equal sign, equal sign, equal sign, read the question first, then reread it and fill in the numbers. That, and then check it. That's the way to start, because once you know what the formula is, all you're doing then is filling in numbers, and you are more than intelligent enough to do this, guys. Okay, so pause the video, and when you have answered all 4, don't be afraid of making a mistake. Don't just watch me do it first. Answer all 4 questions and then press play. Okay, well, I hope you had a chance to do that, and now I'm going to give you the answers to each of these questions. Okay, so a consumer buys 200 Mars bars when their price is €1 each and buys 75 Mars bars when their price rose to 150. Write up in the left-hand side P1, P2, Q1, Q2, and then fill in the numbers there. Okay, so if I am correct, it's Q2 minus Q1, which is 75 minus 200, which is correct, over 200, which is Q1, multiplied by P1, which is €1, divided by P2 minus P1, which is 150 minus 1. I think that is correct still. Set that equal to, well, 75 minus 200 is minus 125, still over 200 there, multiplied by 1, divided by 150 minus 1, which is 0.5. How do we multiply fractions? Top by top, bottom by bottom. Minus 125 by 1 equals minus 125 on the top line, and 200 multiplied by 0.5 equals 100. And I believe that gives us a PED of minus 1.25. Forgive me again if I've made a mistake. A consumer buys 80 units of a good when its price is 150. The price is increased to 175 and the consumer now buys 70 units. P1, P2, Q1, Q2. Please, please, please get in the habit of filling those in. Okay, so what we've got is 70 minus 80, Q2 minus Q1 over Q1, multiplied by P1 over P2 minus P1. Now what do we do is just simplify down the fractions. Don't be a hero. Don't try and do anything too quickly, okay? So 70 minus 80 is minus 10 over 80, multiplied by 150 on the top line, very good, divided by 1.75 over 150, which is 0.25. I know that you may be able to cancel some things here and here. Excuse me. My advice is don't. Unless you're very, very comfortable with mathematics, don't. Just put it all into the calculator and work it all out. Now, I believe I'm correct with that, and I believe I'm correct with minus 0.75. Again, you should be thinking to yourself, what does a PED of minus 0.75 mean? But we will come to that later on. Okay, so a consumer buys 150 units of a good when its price is €1 and 100 units of a good when its price is €4. P1, P2, Q1, Q2 equals. Let's see if I'm right. Okay, so Q2 minus Q1, that appears to be correct, over Q1, which also appears to be correct. Multiplied by P1, which is 1 over 4 minus 1, because it's P2 minus P1. Okay, so what that then equals is minus 50 over 150. I still think I'm right thus far, although I could be wrong, multiplied by 1 over 3. So we have minus 50 times 1 equals minus 50 in the numerator, and then 150 times 3 equals 450 in the denominator. Minus 50 divided by 450 equals minus 0.11111. I think I'm correct there. Forgive me if I'm not. Okay. Finally, A consumer buys 75 units of a good when its price is €2 and 150 when its price falls to €1. Okay, so Q2, which is 150, minus Q1, which is minus 75, over 75, which is Q1, multiplied by P2, which is 2, divided by 1 minus 2, which is P2 minus P1. Okay, well, I think we get 75. Sorry, that should be 75, I believe. Now I want to make sure that I'm right here. A consumer buys 75 units of a good when its price is 2. Okay, so it's Q2. Yeah, that should be 75. Forgive me, I'm going to change that right now. Okay, press play again. All right, so it's 150, yeah, minus 75. And that's 2 over 1. See, anyway, lads, it's so easy to make a mistake, okay? As I say, I'll pretend it's for illustrative purposes, but it's not. So just want to make sure now, and 150, so Q2 minus Q1, which is 75 over 75, multiplied by 2 over minus 1. Yeah, that should be right. So what we've got is 150, and I know that's, and that should be, yeah, and that's, so again, you must forgive me, so it's 150 over minus 75, and then we're going to go through the whole thing again. Okay, forgive me the mistakes here, guys. I do apologize. These kind of things happen, and I suppose it illustrates the point that anyone can make a mistake. All right, so what we've got is 150 over minus 75, which I believe is minus 2. Okay, so we're good there. Now, what does a minus sign mean? Okay, well, what a minus sign actually means is, and we've said this before, but I'll say it again, is that it's a normal good and obeys the law of demand. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, and what do I mean by that? How do you know that? Well, for normal goods, as the price rises, you get poorer in real terms, and as such, buy less normal goods. So as price goes up, a plus, the quantity demanded goes down, a minus. That's a minus divided by a plus. That's a minus. Okay, as the price goes down, quantity demanded goes up. So the percentage change in quantity demanded is a plus. The percentage change in price is a minus. That's a plus divided by a minus. That's a minus. So either way you look at it, if the good obeys the law of demand, well, then what happens? Well, you're always going to get two opposite signs being divided by each other, and as such, therefore, your answer has to be a minus. So normal goods always yield a minus answer. And please keep that in mind. Now let's go back to these answers to make sure that we're correct. Question 1, the answer is minus 1.25. What does that mean? Well, what it means is that if price changes by 1%, quantity demanded will change by 1.25% in the opposite direction. That's what that means. Okay, so if price rises by 1%, quantity demanded will fall by 1.25%. If price falls by 1%, quantity demanded will rise by 1.25%. But what if price changes by 2%? Well, again, we're just using that formula, okay? So all we're saying here is 2 times 1.25, which is 2.5%. If price rises by 2%, quantity demanded will fall by 2.5%. Very important thing to keep in mind. Okay, question 2. The answer was, or the PED was, minus 0.75%. Well, what does the minus figure mean? It means it's a normal good and as such obeys the law of demand. Now that we know that, we ignore it. Okay, we don't care about it anymore. This means that if price changes by 1%, quantity demanded will change by 0.75% in the opposite direction. If price rises by 1%, quantity demanded will fall by 0.75%. If price falls by 1%, quantity demanded will rise by 0.75%. So we're going with the 2% here, no problem. Well, it's 2 by 0.75, which is 1.5%. If price rises by 2%, quantity demanded will fall by 1.5%. If price changes by 5%, let's say price falls by 5%. Well, if price falls by 5%, quantity demanded will rise by 3.75%. That's what that means, okay? I hope I'm not going too fast, and I hope you're able to follow. An answer of minus 0.11. If price rises by 1%, quantity demanded will fall by 0.11%. That's what that means. If price falls by 2%, quantity demanded will rise by 0.22%. If price rises by 10%, quantity demanded will fall by 1.11%. You're multiplying the percentage change in price times the PED to give the percentage change in quantity demanded. Okay, last question here, and I think I was right on this, but forgive me if I was wrong. If price rises by 1%, quantity demanded falls by 2%. How do we know it's obeying the law of demand? Again, because of the minus figure. Once we see the minus figure, we ignore it. We just take the absolute value. It's not important to us anymore. Okay, so that's what we're saying. So again, what if price changes by 3%? Well, percentage change in price multiplied by the PED equals percentage change in quantity demanded. So it's 3 by 2 equals 6%. If price rises by 3%, quantity demanded will fall by 6%. If price falls by 5%, quantity demanded will rise by 10%. It is the percentage change in price multiplied by the percentage change in quantity demanded.